The world sees Keanu Reeves as the man with the calm smile, the gentle voice, and the quiet kindness that feels rare in Hollywood. But few know that behind that smile lives a history of loss, pain, and choices that would break many people. His story begins not with fame, but with loneliness, silence, and a young boy trying to understand why life was so hard. From the very first minutes, imagine this picture. A little boy sitting by a window, staring at the night sky, wondering where his father had gone. Keanu's father left when he was only 3 years old. His mother tried to give him a life of love, but the absence of a father left an empty space in his heart. His childhood was filled with moving from city to city, never having a permanent place to call home. While other children grew up surrounded by stability, Keanu grew up learning how fragile stability really was. School was no easier. Keanu was not a strong student. He struggled with reading because of dyslexia, and this made him feel different, isolated, almost invisible. While others laughed together in groups, Keanu often sat alone. Teachers thought he was not capable. Classmates did not understand him, and slowly he built walls of silence around himself. But even in that silence, he held on to a small light. He discovered stories, films, and the magic of acting. Acting became his escape, the one place where he could live without judgment. As he grew older, his love for acting became his compass, but even here the road was not smooth. In those early years, he faced rejection after rejection. Hollywood is not kind to those who seem different, and Keanu's gentle nature made him stand out in a world driven by pride and ego. Yet he kept trying. Every no he heard only made him more determined to keep searching for a yes. The first twist came when his talent finally opened a small door. Roles in early films began to give him a chance. But still, the pain of his personal life followed him. His father remained absent, his school years left scars, and his heart carried questions without answers. He looked like a man moving forward, yet inside, the wounds of his past were never far away. Through this, Keanu never let anger take control of him. Instead of hate, he chose humility. Instead of bitterness, he chose patience. In those years when he was not yet famous, he often spent hours alone, reflecting, listening, and quietly building strength. This inner strength became the foundation that later made him not just a star, but a man admired across the world. Then, just when his career began to rise, tragedy struck again. In 1993, his closest friend, River Phoenix, died suddenly. River was not only a friend, but also a brother to him, someone who shared his silence and understood his heart. The loss shattered Keanu. People close to him said his smile grew softer after River's death, almost like he carried grief in every expression. But even through this sorrow, Keanu refused to close his heart to the world. He chose to honor River by living with kindness, not despair. These moments built the man who would later inspire millions. The pain was real. The scars were deep, yet the choices he made in those dark times revealed the purity of his humanity. This is the story that lies behind his smile. A story of pain, yes, but also of a resilience so quiet and so strong that it touches people without words. The journey is only beginning, and in the next part, the story will unfold even deeper as love, heartbreak, and unimaginable tragedy enter his life and test his spirit in ways no one could imagine. After River Phoenix's death, Keanu's life changed forever. He had always been quiet, but now there was a deeper silence inside him. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm, when the world looks the same on the outside, but nothing feels the same on the inside. People who met him during that time said his eyes carried a sadness that words could not describe. Yet, even in grief, life has a way of bringing light. In the late 1990s, Keanu met Jennifer Syme, a woman who would change his life in both beautiful and heartbreaking ways. Jennifer was full of warmth, with a gentle soul that matched Keanu's quiet nature. When they were together, people noticed something rare. Keanu smiled more easily, his laughter softer but genuine, his guarded heart opening. Their love grew quickly. For a man who had always lived with loneliness, finding someone who truly understood him felt like a miracle. They dreamed of building a life together, of finding peace in each other's arms, and soon they were expecting a child. For Keanu, who had grown up without the steady love of a father, the thought of becoming a father himself filled him with hope. It was a chance to give to his child what he never had, but life, so often, has its cruel twists. In December 1999, their baby, girl, Ava Archer Syme Reeves, was stillborn. The joy they had been waiting for turned into unimaginable pain. In an instant, their future shattered. Keanu and Jennifer were broken. The weight of the loss was too much, and though they loved each other, their grief pulled them apart. Keanu carried that sorrow quietly, the way he carried all his pain, without anger, without complaint, but with a depth that shaped every part of him. Friends said he would sit alone for hours, lost in thought. The smile he showed the world became even softer, almost fragile, but it never disappeared. Because even in heartbreak, he refused to let go of kindness. Tragedy did not end there. Only 2 years later, in 2001, Jennifer Syme died in a car accident. Losing her after losing their child was a wound almost too deep to survive. It was as if life kept testing how much one man's heart could endure. Anyone else might have fallen into despair or anger, but Keanu did something different. He accepted the pain, not with bitterness, but with quiet grace. He once said in an interview, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends." Those words revealed the truth of his soul. He was not running from sorrow, he was learning to live with it. The world saw Keanu in movies, on red carpets, smiling gently for cameras. But behind those moments was a man walking through endless shadows. His grief was private, his heart still broken, yet he carried himself with humility. He never used his suffering as a way to gain sympathy. Instead, he let it shape the way he treated people, with respect, patience, and a kindness that felt genuine. This was the time when Keanu began to show the world the pure humanity behind the actor. While other celebrities surrounded themselves with luxury and pride, Keanu was different. He rode the subway, he gave up his seat for strangers, he lived without showing off. Money meant little to him. What mattered was people, their stories, their struggles, their small joys. His losses had taught him what truly mattered in life. And so, the man who had lost so much gave even more to others. During the filming of The Matrix, when he earned millions, he gave a large part of his salary to the crew, the people behind the cameras who worked long hours, but rarely got recognition. He said they were the real heroes, and he wanted to share his success with them. This period of his life revealed the deepest truth. Pain can either harden a person or soften them. Keanu's pain softened him. Instead of becoming cold, he became warmer. Instead of closing his heart, he opened it wider. This choice made him not only a famous actor, but also a symbol of quiet strength and compassion. Still, inside, his scars remained. Love had given him joy, then taken it away. Family had left wounds, and grief had left shadows. But Keanu never pretended to be free of sorrow. He carried it openly, and maybe that is why so many people feel connected to him. He is not perfect, not untouchable. He is human, deeply human. As his career grew stronger, so did his inner battles. Every smile on screen carried a hidden story. Every act of kindness came from a place of deep loss. Behind Keanu Reeves's smile lay not just pain, but the choice to turn pain into humanity. The next part of his story will reveal how his career reached its highest peaks while his personal life continued to test him, showing the world that true resilience is not about living without pain, but about living with pain and still choosing kindness. After the storms of grief, Keanu stood at a turning point in his life. He had faced pain that could have broken him, yet he remained steady. Now, as the world began to look closer, his career took a dramatic rise. The 1990s had already given him success in films like Speed, but it was The Matrix in 1999 that turned him into a legend. When audiences saw Keanu as Neo, the chosen one, they were amazed by the action, the visual effects, and the futuristic world. But for those who looked closer, there was something more. People could sense that Keanu's quiet strength was not only acting, it was real. The character of Neo, searching for meaning, burdened by destiny, reflected the journey. Keanu himself was walking in life. This was one of the secrets behind his success. His roles felt real because they came from real emotion. The fame from The Matrix could have made him proud or arrogant, but Keanu stayed humble. While other actors demanded luxury trailers or star treatment, Keanu sat with the crew, ate with them, listened to their stories. He rode motorcycles through the city, quietly blending in, never chasing attention. He lived simply, and people noticed. Reporters asked him about his money, and he often shrugged, saying that money meant little. He cared about art, people, and kindness. But even as the world celebrated him, inside, he still carried his sorrow. Success did not erase the grief of losing his daughter and Jennifer Syme. The world saw the hero on screen, but in real life, Keanu was still searching for peace. There were days when he walked alone, sat on benches quietly, or rode the subway with strangers who did not realize they were sitting beside a global star. In those moments, Keanu was not an actor, not a celebrity, just a man, trying to find meaning in a life that had been both kind and cruel to him. Then came another twist in his career. While The Matrix opened doors, it also brought challenges. After the trilogy, Hollywood began to typecast him, seeing him only as an action star. Roles became harder to find. Critics said his acting was too plain, too quiet. They did not understand that behind his silence was depth. Behind his calmness was truth. Many actors in Hollywood would fight, change themselves, or chase fame. Keanu chose differently. He waited. He stayed patient. During this period, instead of forcing his career, he gave his time to others. Stories spread of him secretly donating to children's hospitals, supporting cancer research, and helping people in need without telling anyone. Unlike many celebrities who made donations in front of cameras, Keanu kept his acts of kindness private. Only years later did people discover the countless charities he had quietly supported. Yet, his career was not done. Fate had another chapter, waiting. In 2014, John Wick came to life, and once again the world was stunned. The story of a man who had lost his wife and then his beloved dog resonated deeply with audiences. People felt that Keanu was not just acting grief, he understood it. His pain gave the character truth, and the quiet fury behind his eyes made the role unforgettable. John Wick brought him back to the center of Hollywood. The action was powerful, the story simple but emotional, and Keanu's performance, raw and real. Critics praised him, fans celebrated him, and a new generation discovered the depth of his work. But for Keanu, it was never about fame or money. It was about the art, the storytelling, and the humanity behind it. Even with the renewed success, he stayed the same. There were no luxury scandals, no proud displays. Instead, stories continued to appear about how he treated people with respect. One fan said Keanu stopped to chat with him for 10 minutes on the street, never rushing, never treating him as less. Another time, he waited outside his own rap party because the security guards did not recognize him. He never insisted, never raised his voice. He simply waited patiently like anyone else. These moments became proof of who he truly was. Not just an actor, not just a star, but a man who understood suffering, who carried grief, yet still chose to smile at strangers and treat them kindly. But behind this public kindness, his personal life remained quiet, even lonely. He never married, again, never had children, and rarely spoke about his private world. When asked in interviews, he would smile softly and say only what he wanted to share. He believed grief was a private journey, and he carried it with dignity. This contrast made him unique in Hollywood. Most stars chase fame, but Keanu chased peace. Most stars build walls of ego, but Keanu built bridges of humility. And because of this, people everywhere began to admire not only his movies, but his humanity. In Part 4, the story will reveal even more about how Keanu's resilience carried him through new challenges, and how his pure humanity continued to shine in a world that often values pride more than kindness. As John Wick made Keanu a global icon once again, the world saw the return of a star. But what people admired most was not only his action scenes or his comeback. They admired the way he handled success with the same humility he had always carried. Hollywood is known for changing people, for turning stars into untouchable figures. But Keanu remained the same man who rode the subway, who listened to strangers, who found joy in the simplest moments. Behind the fame, though, life was still testing him. Years of grief had left him with a different view of the world. He did not take anything for granted. Every small kindness, every small smile mattered to him. He once said that we never know what battles someone is fighting, and that is why he believed in treating people gently. Those words were not just advice. They were his way of life. Stories about him began to spread across the internet. Fans shared moments that felt too good to be true, yet every story matched the same truth. There was the time he gave up his seat on a crowded subway, sitting quietly without announcing who he was. There was the time his car broke down on the way from the airport, and instead of calling for special treatment, he rented a van and traveled with strangers, even buying them snacks and drinks along the way. Instead of acting like a star, he acted like a friend. People called him the internet's boyfriend, a symbol of kindness in a world full of pride. Memes were created about his gentle nature, his sad but thoughtful look, and his refusal to change despite fame. But behind the jokes was real admiration. In a world where celebrities often seemed distant, Keanu felt close, almost like family. Yet, even as people celebrated him, Keanu's private battles continued. The grief of losing his daughter and Jennifer never truly left him. Some nights he would still walk alone, carrying that silence inside. He never pretended to be healed, and maybe that honesty was what made him so relatable. He showed the world that it is okay to live with scars, that it is okay to smile even when pain lives in your heart. His career flourished with each John Wick film, but Keanu used the success to lift others, not just himself. On set, he treated stunt performers with respect, often praising them publicly and ensuring they received recognition for their dangerous work. When asked about the secret behind his fight scenes, he pointed to the stunt team and said they were the real heroes. He always shared the light instead of keeping it for himself. His humility was not only seen on film sets. Once, during his birthday, instead of throwing a grand party, he walked into a small bakery, bought a simple cake, and shared it with the people around him. No cameras, no special guests, just Keanu, quietly celebrating life with strangers. These moments revealed who he truly was, a man who valued human connection above all else. But Hollywood can be cruel, even to someone as kind as Keanu. Critics sometimes mocked his quiet style of acting, calling him stiff or too simple. Others doubted his range, saying he was only good for action films. But Keanu never fought back with anger. He accepted the criticism, kept working, and proved through his choices that respect lasts longer than applause. His resilience was not loud, but it was unshakable. In the middle of his success, Keanu also faced the challenge of staying grounded. Fame can be a trap, pulling stars into isolation. But he found peace in motorcycles, in music, in books, in silence. He co-founded a motorcycle company not to show off, but because riding gave him freedom, a sense of escape from the noise of Hollywood. He also spent time reading and reflecting, always searching for meaning in a world that often felt chaotic. Perhaps the most powerful lesson from this chapter of his life was that resilience does not mean living without sadness. Resilience means carrying sadness with grace and still choosing to show love to others. Keanu embodied this truth every single day. As John Wick grew into a franchise, people began to see Keanu not only as an actor, but as a symbol of survival. His story reminded them that no matter how deep the pain, life could still hold moments of beauty. He had lost so much, yet he never stopped giving. Part 5 of this story will reveal how Keanu's kindness reached even further, touching strangers in ways that would inspire millions, and how he continued to live as proof that behind his smile was both pain and a rare kind of humanity. By the time the world began calling Keanu Reeves the symbol of humility in Hollywood, countless stories about his kindness had already spread far and wide. Yet, what made these stories powerful was not that they were rare events staged for cameras, but that they were everyday moments, lived quietly, without any desire for recognition. One story that touched millions happened when a flight Keanu was on had to make an emergency landing in California. Instead of leaving the scene in silence or calling for private help, he stayed with the passengers. He calmly explained what was happening, then arranged transportation for those stranded. He rode in a small bus with strangers, chatting with them, playing country music from his phone, and even sharing random facts about the local area to keep everyone calm. The passengers later said it felt like traveling with a friend, not a famous actor. Another moment came when a fan saw him sitting alone in a park, quietly eating a sandwich. No security, no flash, just Keanu in his simple clothes, enjoying a small meal. The photo went viral because it showed something rare, a superstar who lived like anyone else. Some people called it the sad Keanu picture, but others saw something deeper. A man at peace with solitude, someone who had found strength in simplicity. There were also stories from film sets. Crew members spoke about how he would greet every single person, from the camera operators to the assistants. He remembered their names, asked about their families, and often gave generous gifts to thank them for their hard work. When one set builder's family faced a health crisis, Keanu quietly paid their medical bills, never asking for his name to be mentioned. Acts like these revealed his true heart, helping without needing applause. His respect for others also extended to fans. Countless people shared stories of meeting him randomly on the street, in cafes, or at airports. Instead of rushing past, he always stopped to listen. Sometimes he posed for photos, sometimes he had small conversations, but always he gave people his full attention. Fans often left saying the same thing, that he made them feel seen, valued, and respected. But kindness was not just about how he treated others. It was also how he carried himself in the face of constant questioning. Journalists often asked him about his tragedies, about the pain of losing River Phoenix, Jennifer, and his daughter. Keanu never grew angry or refused to answer. Instead, he spoke with quiet honesty, admitting that grief never leaves, but it teaches us to live with more compassion. His openness helped millions who struggled with their own losses. Hearing him speak reminded them that they were not alone, that even someone as admired as Keanu also carried pain. And yet, even with his fame and fortune, Keanu chose to live modestly. He did not own a mansion filled with golden walls. He did not chase the latest luxury cars. Instead, he lived in a simple home, drove his motorcycles, and found joy in the ordinary. He once said, "I don't need much. I just want to live a simple life." This choice made people love him more because it proved he valued humanity over wealth. Still, life continued to test him. Even while his movies were breaking records, there were moments when loneliness seemed to surround him. He often spent holidays alone, away from the spotlight. Friends said he was not bitter about it. He simply accepted life as it came. His resilience was quiet but powerful, showing that even in solitude one could still live with kindness and grace. Through all of this, Keanu became more than an actor. He became a mirror for people's hopes, struggles, and dreams. Millions saw their own pain in his story, but they also saw the possibility of healing, of turning pain into something beautiful. His life reminded them that no matter how deep the scars, it is possible to still give love, still smile, and still walk gently through the world. In this chapter of his life, Keanu showed the world that greatness is not measured by awards or fame, but by how you treat others when no one is watching. His quiet acts of kindness reached strangers, inspired fans, and reminded people everywhere that behind his smile was not only pain, but also the purest form of humanity. In Part 6, the story will go even deeper, revealing how Keanu's journey of resilience continued to unfold, and how his choices shaped the way people across the world came to see him, not just as an actor, but as a living symbol of respect, humility, and unshakable kindness. By the time Keanu Reeves entered his late 50s, his life had already become more than a personal journey. It had become a symbol, a story told by millions who admired not just his movies, but his way of living. In Hollywood, where so many stars rise and fall because of pride, scandals, or arrogance, Keanu stood apart. He was the quiet flame that refused to go out, steady and warm, guiding others with his humility. As the John Wick series grew into one of the biggest franchises in cinema, Keanu's fame reached new heights. Fans across the globe cheered for his action scenes, his dedication, and the honesty he brought to every role. But what people loved most was the man outside the screen. While his movies showed strength, his real life showed softness, an unusual mix that made him unforgettable. Crew members often spoke about his work ethic. Despite being a global star, Keanu was the first to arrive on set and the last to leave. He trained for hours to perfect his fight scenes, not because of pride, but out of respect for the audience and the team working with him. He believed that giving his best was a way of honoring the people who trusted him with the role. This dedication inspired not only fans, but also young actors who looked up to him as a mentor. But beyond the films, Keanu continued to live by his quiet values. He often donated to hospitals, children's programs, and cancer research, yet he rarely allowed his name to be connected. When people discovered these donations, it was usually years later, whispered by those who worked with him. He believed that kindness lost its meaning if it was performed only for recognition. Despite his calm nature, he carried a sense of mystery. Fans and journalists wondered why he never remarried, why he lived without the family many expected him to have. But Keanu never gave full answers. He spoke honestly when asked about grief, saying that love and loss were forever linked, and that his heart had been shaped by those experiences. Still, he never closed the door to life. Quietly, he built friendships, surrounded himself with creativity, and supported those he cared about without needing to explain everything to the world. In 2019, he surprised many by walking onto a red carpet with artist Alexandra Grant, his longtime friend. The sight of him holding hands, smiling openly, brought joy to fans across the world. People cheered not only because of the romance, but because they wanted happiness for him. After so many years of loss and solitude, they wanted to see Keanu loved and cared for. The moment became one of the most shared images online, proving how deeply people connected with his personal life. And yet, even in this, Keanu remained grounded. He did not chase headlines, did not use his relationship to draw attention. Instead, he kept living with the same quiet strength. His happiness was simple: spending time with someone he trusted, building art, riding motorcycles, and enjoying life's small moments. This stage of his life also revealed another side of his resilience. As age came, his body carried the weight of years of stunts, motorcycle crashes, and physical demands. Many times he was injured on set. His knees, his back, his shoulders all bore scars from decades of action. Yet he never complained. He trained harder, accepted the pain, and moved forward with gratitude. He once said he was lucky to still be able to do what he loved. Those words revealed his heart. Thankful, humble, and deeply human. The internet continued to celebrate him with memes and stories. People laughed at the "you're breathtaking" moment when a fan shouted those words at him during a gaming event, and Keanu responded by pointing to the audience saying, "You're breathtaking." That moment spread everywhere because it showed his natural kindness. He did not plan it. He did not fake it. He simply responded with honesty, making a fan feel special in front of thousands. Through it all, Keanu never forgot his roots. He spoke often about his love for books, his joy in riding motorcycles across quiet roads, and his need for peace away from the noise of fame. He found meaning in simplicity, reminding people that success does not have to change who you are. In this part of his journey, Keanu Reeves had become more than an actor, more than a star. He was now a living example of how to endure pain with grace, how to rise from loss with resilience, and how to walk through life with kindness, even when carrying scars. And yet, his story was not finished. In Part 7, the final chapter, we'll see how Keanu's legacy continues to grow, not only in his films, but in the millions of lives he inspires every day. As the years passed, Keanu Reeves became more than a Hollywood actor. He became a symbol, a reminder that greatness is not measured by how much you earn or how many awards you win, but by the way you live, by the respect you show, and by the kindness you give even when life has taken so much from you. His journey had begun in silence, with the pain of a broken childhood and the absence of his father. It had moved through endless battles, dyslexia, rejection, loneliness, and then the heartbreaking tragedies of losing his closest friend, his child, and the woman he loved. Each chapter could have left him bitter, angry, or closed to the world. But instead, every loss shaped him into someone softer, more compassionate, more aware of the pain of others. When fans looked at his smile, they saw something different. It was not the smile of a man untouched by suffering. It was the smile of someone who knew sorrow deeply, who had carried it like a shadow, yet still chose to greet the world with warmth. His smile was not loud, but it was powerful. It was a silent promise that no matter what life takes away, you can still choose to be kind. Keanu's legacy is not only in his movies, though they will always remain a part of history. The Matrix changed cinema forever. John Wick became a cultural phenomenon. Countless other roles showed his versatility and passion. But his true legacy lives outside the screen, in the countless lives he touched without even knowing. The fan who shared a bus ride with him after a broken-down plane still tells the story. The crew members who received gifts and respect from him remember his gratitude. The strangers who saw him quietly helping without cameras never forgot his humanity. Every one of these small moments added up to something greater than fame. They built trust, admiration, and love from millions of people across the world. His resilience also became a lesson for those who suffered. When people grieving their own losses heard him say, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends," they felt less alone. When they saw him carrying his scars but still walking with kindness, they found hope that they too could survive their pain. Keanu showed the world that strength does not mean hiding sadness. It means carrying it with dignity and still choosing to live with love. And in recent years, Keanu began to embrace something even deeper: legacy through humanity. He supported art, encouraged creativity, and inspired people to pursue their dreams, not for glory, but for meaning. He showed that you could be both a global superstar and a humble man who buys a simple cake on his birthday to share with strangers. In the end, what makes Keanu Reeves unforgettable is not only the roles he played, but the life he lived. Behind his smile lies pain. Yes, but also a choice, again and again, to meet that pain with patience, humility, and kindness. He did not allow suffering to harden him. Instead, he let it carve his soul into something softer, something purer, something the world could look at and say, "Here is what it means to be human." The final truth of his story is simple but profound. We all carry scars. We all face storms. We all lose people we love. But like Keanu, we can choose. We can choose to live with respect, to treat others with kindness, to walk gently even when the weight feels too heavy. His story teaches us that true greatness does not shine in power or pride, it shines in compassion. And so, when people speak of Keanu Reeves, they do not only speak of the hero on screen. They speak of the man behind the smile, the man who endured so much pain yet gave the world endless humanity. His story is not only about one actor. It is about what every human being can become when they choose love over anger, humility over pride, and kindness over despair.